It's going to take courage. You're going to have to be willing to risk. You're going to be need to risk discomfort. But that's where all the good stuff lies. If you just stay comfortable, if that's what you're committed to, just staying comfortable, don't get this book.
Yeah.
Don't go to Mouse in the Room and get this book. It's not for you. But if you want a roadmap to truth, you want to be the badass leader that people want to follow, you want radical transformation, this is a roadmap to that. Welcome to Tough Conversations with David Wood, where play meets depth. We help teams and high-performing leaders like you to master your tough conversations so you succeed in your career and in your life. When we avoid tough conversations, we stay small. Teams stay disengaged, conflicted, and ultimately end up quitting. When we lean in and master our tough conversations, they become the defining moments that literally shape our careers, our relationships, and our lives. So let's dive in and master your next tough conversation so you can be the leader that you would follow. Let's play. Welcome everyone to another exciting episode. This one is very different. This is an introduction to Mouse in the Room, my upcoming book, and a request to help with the Amazon bestseller campaign. And so, I'll do a plug for that in a minute, and I'll tell you what you can do to support the bestseller campaign, how you can play. And then Kathryn Thompson from Be the Sought After Entrepreneur is going to ask me a whole bunch of questions about the book, and we'll dive into why and how mouse naming is going to change your life. And at the end, I'll ask you again to go and get the book, go and leave a review, and we'll close it out. So without further ado, here's what I'd love you to do to support the book. Go to mouseintheroom.com, and here's what I'd love you to do. If you resonate with this and you're like, hey, this could be good for my life, could be good for my family, could be good for my company, could be good for the world. Don't just get the book.
Yeah.
Get the book. And we plan to have, you can either get the physical one, or we're going to have a special on the Kindle for 99 cents, right? How ridiculous is that? Because we want to do a bestseller campaign. But here's how you can help us make this a bestseller and get the word out. Buy the book. If you think it deserves a 5-star review, then please go and leave that review. And then post on social media that you just got the book, so that your friends can have an opportunity to mouse name as well. It's way harder to do this in isolation.
Yeah.
It's way easier to start mouse naming if your family and your friends and your staff and everyone else know what's going on. So post it on social media. There's 2 reasons I want that.
Yeah.
I want it to be a bestseller just so we can say that.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I want to start a mouse naming revolution.
I love it.
So
I love it.
Let's make some noise. Mouseintheroom.com. There'll be a link to, you go straight to Amazon too, but mouseintheroom.com will, it'll be more fun. I'm planning to add a couple of bonuses to the book so that you don't just get an amazing book, but you get something else that's really awesome too.
Hey, I am super stoked to have David back on the show. We had him late last year on the show, and I'm just really excited to have him on to share about his newly published book, or his book that's coming out. So without further ado, I'm just going to turn it back over to you, David, so that you can give our listeners a little intro of who you are, what you do, and yeah.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, I'm going to give a shot at the short version. So I grew up in a country town in Australia, and did not get trained on how to share what was actually happening inside me with other people. Didn't learn that. Firstly, I'm a guy. Secondly, I'm Australian. My parents are wonderful people. They weren't trained. So no one ever said, hey, David, what are you feeling right now? What's going on in your body? Hey, you seem angry. Tell me more about that. No, we didn't have that. So I grew up like a lot of people, just not really didn't have high emotional intelligence. Now the upside is I had all the left brain stuff. So I came top of my school. I got paid to go to college. How privileged is that? I got a job transfer to New York. I'm on Park Avenue at the age of 24, consulting to Sony Music and Ford and Exxon. You'd think this guy's got it made. Well, I'm really good with business and numbers and money and systems. What I didn't know about is that while I was successful, there's a whole other world of what can happen when you be you with the world.
Yeah.
And so I'm writing this book because there's one super powerful principle out of all of the authentic relating and relational and leadership principles that you could take on. There's one thing. And we explain that one thing in the book. And the book is called Mouse in the Room, because the elephant is not alone.
Yeah. Where did you come up with the title? Because I think the title is so brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you. It happened because I was in a course. I was helping to teach a course in authentic relating, which is like how to be you.
Yeah.
And it was actually all about relational leadership, how to lead, but lead in relation to the people that you're with. And someone said in the course, one of the participants was like, you've got to name the thing. And we're like, what do you mean? You've just got to name the thing that's there. You know, maybe you're feeling disappointed by something the person said. That's a thing. Maybe you're upset with something, with the direction that the meeting's taking. That's a thing. You got to name the thing. Hey, I notice I'm feeling a contraction to where we're going here. And I think it's because, whatever. And so I was like, name that thing and be a good book.
Yeah.
That had changed the world if you name the thing that's happening. And then I thought, what do we have in society that's closest to that? It's the elephant. We all know about the elephant in the room. You see it, I see it, no one's saying anything. Well, we could have written a book called Address the Elephant in the Room. Like, screw up your courage, stop tiptoeing around it, and name the elephant. But I want to go way past that, because so many creatures in the room are much more subtle. Maybe I see it and you don't see it. Maybe it's a niggling little thing that I have. So I call them mice. And we were going to call the book Name That Mouse, because we want to start a mouse naming revolution.
Yeah.
Discover your mice, what's going on in you. Oh, I feel inspired hearing you say that. That's a mouse. Oh, you know what? I noticed that we started acting class late, the last 3 classes in a row, and I've been here early. I'd like us to start on time. Do you think we could do that, even if people are late? That's a mouse, right?
Yeah.
And we've identified 8 different kinds of mice in the book. One example that I just gave, that we might call that, it could be a toleration mouse that I'm putting up with and resenting that I'm getting here early and yet we start late.
Yeah.
That's a toleration mouse. If we look deeper, there might be a desire mouse there. I'd like us to start on time. Even if there are 2 people, let's start and people will start to get on board. Yeah, I get pretty excited talking about this topic.
Yeah. So back to your story a bit, you talk about growing up in Australia and you talk about, being, I call it more like heady, right? Like in your head and not really knowing or how to talk about what's going on in your body. And you relate that to leadership. And that could be leadership in business, leadership in your relationships, leadership with your children, if you want. But why this movement to this relational leadership, so to speak? Like, what is it about relational leadership that you feel is really needed right now in the world?
I think what we need in the world, and each individual needs, more connection.
Yeah.
I think we're starved for it. And there are some people in the world who get lots of touch and they've got lots of cuddle buddies, and maybe they've got pets, and maybe when they've got some shame about something, they share it. When they've got their desires, they express all of it to all of the time. if they're upset with something and they feel disappointed and hurt, they know how to share that and it's well received. There are some people in the world who live at that level. For the rest of us, here's the book.
Yeah.
So I think we want to be seen. We want to be accepted. Even the parts of us that we don't want to bring to the world, there's transformation in bringing that out and artfully naming those mice. We don't have a shame mouse in the book, but those things can come out. Now, the way it applies to leadership, if you want people to follow you and they don't know who you are, they don't know what's actually going on with you, then there's dissonance. There's a lack of trust. They're not going to want to follow you. But I'll give you an example. I sometimes go into Colorado prisons and we teach this concept of the mouse in the room and being more of you, being relational.
Yeah.
And the director of all Colorado prisons drove an hour on his Sunday to come and sit in with us. I was doing this with the Realness Project, an amazing nonprofit.
Yeah.
And he came in and sat in with us. And he walked in while I was leading. And so I had a couple of mice come up, having him walk into the room. And I named it. I said, I'd really like to say something profound right now so I can look really good in front of this guy. That's an example of transparency. Now, when I say it, everyone laughed.
Yeah.
Right. So it broke any tension in the room, but also generates more trust. I actually spoke the truth.
Yeah.
And so that's one example. And then he had a chance to speak and the guy was just so vulnerable and revealed. He named his mice. He said, I've got this huge ship that I'm trying to turn around. I'm trying to change how we do things here. And a lot of the old guard don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And I need your help. There's a desire mouse. He spoke the truth. I need your help. It starts with you. You guys have to be relational leaders. You guys have to speak up in an artful way with the guards. I need your help. And he got those people on board. He sold me. I was enrolled in him. And then he gave a personal example of how he hugged one of his staff members. And he was like, is this okay?
Yeah.
Hug them. Are they going to misconstrue it? And am I going to get in trouble? He named all of his mice. And it was so personal and revealed. I'm like, I trust this guy. I want to help this guy. I reached out to him and said, I want to coach you.
Yeah.
That was relational leadership. Now, I'm not saying, and we don't say in the book, you have to share everything. But don't take that as permission to just go back to the way you've been doing things. You might be at about 20% of what's possible in being revealed and naming your mice. And I don't want you to go to 100%, but I do want you to get up to say 80.
Yeah.
And also, here's an example. You're not going to go to the boardroom and say, I'm freaking out. We're heading off a cliff and I got no plan. We're going under. Help. You're not going to do that. You'll do that to your coach.
Yeah.
You'll do that to your closest friends, maybe your mentor, and then or your therapist. And then you might go to the board and say, some of you may be scared. I don't blame you. Sometimes I am too. This is a real challenge, but we've got some good plans already and we're going to find our way together through this and we're going to work it out.
Yeah. So why is it that you don't want to go from 20 to 100? I love that you share that perspective, because I think sometimes when we're wanting to speak our truth, or we feel like, okay, I'm going to speak my truth now, like you said, it's like, it's not divulging everything, right? There's certain social situations that you might share, that with your therapist and that with your coach and that with your closest partner, and that with the boardroom. But like, why is that we want to, I don't even want to say the word filter, but like, why don't we want to
Yeah.
get from 20 to 100?
Yeah. I used to, when I got into mouse naming, I used to think everything's got to be shared.
Yeah.
Everything. And someone pointed out to me once that you have a right to privacy.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. There might be some things, we call them mirror mice in the book, that's just for you.
Yeah.
Just you acknowledge it. You work out, oh, I feel really hurt by that. Okay, that's a mirror mouse. I name it. Journaling's good for that. Or a therapist or a coach. But also there might not be enough upside in sharing it. Let's say you go into someone's house and it's super messy and you're like, God, I could never live here. Do they need to know that? There's maybe no upside. Conversely, a friend recently was sharing about how upset she was by her ex-boyfriend and something he did. And I thought, I don't want to hear this. I've heard it so many times and she just keeps going back in. I just don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And I decided to share that because I thought it might be a loving contribution.
Yeah.
And and you can check for, there are ways to do it. So one thing we share in the book is you get consent. Hey, would you like to know the impact of that message? And it may not be easy to hear. And if she says yes, then I'm like, I just noticed I don't want to hear it. You could keep doing it, keep doing you're doing it for a reason, but I've heard it so many times. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. And I'm open to pushback. If you're like, hey, there's something I really do want you to hear, do it. But sometimes, in the book, we say, work out what good thing could happen. So why might you share it? This is so important because the mind will want to hide these mice from you.
Yeah.
Mind will go, oh, it's going to be awkward. The mind will go, no way that's going to go well. The mind will go, you could be shamed or they might get angry or, all these bad things. So we've got a little worksheet for you. You have to write down what could happen. Oh, I could feel closer to this person. I could let go of this tension and feel lighter. We could work together better as a team. I could be modeling for my kid how to name mice. Like you really get up close and personal with what could happen and then what could go wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, what am I scared of? Okay, they might get angry with me. I could lose my job. I might get passed over for promotion. My partner might leave me, or my partner might give me the cold shoulder for a couple of days. Let's work out. This is why you haven't named those mice. This is why you're hiding yourself from the world. It's basically a book on how to have radical personal transformation. But we don't say that, and I haven't said it before, even on all the interviews. Growth will occur. So you go through the process and you weigh it up. All right, here's the upside. Here's the downside. Am I willing to accept the consequences? If you're not, let's suppose I'm going to take an extreme example. Let's suppose you had an affair.
Yeah.
And you might be like, if I share this, my partner might leave me. If I share this, I can actually be in integrity and clean it up and make it right and actually have some peace. And I can give my partner the choice as to whether or not this is a relationship they want to be in, right? I'm inspiring myself. And you work that out and you say, and maybe you work with a coach on this. You don't have to do this alone.
Yeah.
Get coaching. And then you go and you decide, okay, I'm going to share it. I'm going to risk it. This is how I got into coaching, Kathryn. This exact example, I was doing a course and someone revealed to me that she'd had an affair and she'd never come clean. And I coached her on what would be possible of coming clean after 10 years of manipulating her husband and hiding this. She went and revealed it and came back and said, we felt we were walking on air all weekend in love.
Ah, interesting.
That's
interesting.
But you got to take the risk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that, a lot of people, I think there's the type of people that, can blurt the thing out, or don't take the time even to process, like how you're describing that as like, weigh the pros and cons, or just ask yourself some very potent questions like, what's going to happen? What am I afraid of? Whatever. But I think we've got to take the time to actually do that. And if there's something within you, it doesn't mean that you have to blurt it out right now or get it done right now, that you can actually sit with it and go through the process of what do you want to do with this? How do you want to communicate this? How do you want to share it? I think you touched on something, two really, really important things is the consent, right? Is that, you can have those friends or those colleagues or somebody in your business that's saying the same story over and over and over and over again. And the first time you hear it, it's like, okay, I'm hearing it. But we don't often take time to ask people, are you even open to receiving what I'm about to say right now? We don't take that time to get the consent of the other person engaging, because which then impacts the way that the message is received. Because if, say, Joe walks into a boardroom and he's stressed because he's late and he spilt his coffee all over himself, and he gets in there and someone starts nattering in his ear, he's not even there to even prepare to like hear the message that's coming in. It could be the best message in the world that's being said or stated, but he's not prepared to receive it. Or like your friend, who's telling you the same story kind of over and over, and you're like, hey, I'm not available for this anymore. Like I was available maybe the first time or the second time, but I'm not available anymore. And it's that consent piece that I think really does play into that emotional intelligence, being able to like read the room, get the consent.
I think you're speaking to another reason why people hide, why we hide things, and why we're not the real me or the real us. We haven't been given a roadmap. We haven't been given a roadmap to truth.
Yeah.
And so this book is that roadmap. We have a process in the book we call the 3D. 3D process: discover, decide, disarm. So firstly, you discover what's going on. All you may know is you don't like what's happening. Or you might know you want something, but you're not clear, right? So how are you going to name your mice? You can't do it yet. Just so we'll help you discover, this is what's going on for me. And that's gold. That's your mirror mouse right there. Even if you never share it. Oh, I feel offended because they said this, and that taps into a belief I have about myself. Okay. I feel frustrated because I think we can do so much better, and this person's just slowing us down. Whatever it is, discover. That's the first section. What could go well, right? What could go wrong? Now we're getting into decide. Should I actually name this mouse? Too often we're tempted to just not do it. Don't play small.
Yeah.
Don't chicken out. That's going to take you back to staying in prison and staying and just sharing, say, 20% of the real you. Don't do that. So this will help you decide, but you're also not going to share everything. If it's going to result in prison, you may decide not to do it. If it's going to result in your partner leaving you, you get to choose. Am I willing to risk this? And then if you do decide to go ahead and name it, disarm is the third piece of it. And we'll show you how to disarm the person and disarm yourself and lower the defenses so that you've got a much greater chance of true connection.
Yeah.
True intimacy. And my God, the keys to the kingdom lie on the other side of that. When you look, I've had some conversations that have not gone well, and I've gone, I wish I hadn't done that. But so many times I've taken the risk with good coaching and with having this process, the 3D process, and it will blow your mind what can happen. I called a bully from school who, like 20 years after high school, called him and said, I have been resenting you and hating you for 20 years, and I am letting it go, and you don't have to do anything. I wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
And that guy said to me, if you do it well, that guy said to me, wow, well, what could I say or do now to help us move forward?
Wow.
I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
I now consider that man a friend.
Wow.
What goes on in the psyche when that, when that's transformed from this asshole who I hate to a man who wants my life to be good and is just trying to help? That you can't, how do you put a price on that kind of transformation? You don't know. The keys to the kingdom are possible. I could have called it that, but
Yeah.
no one's gonna buy a book called The Keys to the Kingdom.
I absolutely love the title of it. So what sparked you to write this book?
Well, the fact that it's so powerful.
Yeah.
That one concept, even Name That Thing. I said to the person who said it, you should write a book called Name That Thing. Name that thing. People can understand that. They can transmit that. You've got to name what's happening. And then when I got this concept of the elephant in the room and the mouse, you've got to name the mouse. I was like, okay, I want the world to have this concept. This one thing can change your life.
Yeah.
It'll change your relationship. I'm going to promise it right now. You do this, it will change your relationship with your kids, with your partner, with the people you go on dates with. They'll be like, who are you? Who is this person? I haven't had a conversation like this. It'll change your relationship with your staff, with your boss, with your coworkers. I will tell you, I don't think Jack Canfield from Chicken Soup would have invited me to stay overnight at his house. And I'm giving this example. This was a huge thing in my life. This was like one of the pinnacle experiences in my life, to have a man who I idolize and adore invite me to stay. I don't think that would have happened if I hadn't practiced radical mouse naming.
Yeah.
I told him things that I just like, look, I'm going to go out on a limb here, Jack, and share this. And this is what's coming up for me. And hey, I wonder if you'd be willing to write the foreword to my book. I know it's a bold request. And to be honest, I've already asked Richard Branson. And if he says yes, I'm going to go with him. Would you be my backup? Like, what a radical thing to say. And the man said, well, you're going alphabetically. I understand that. Made a joke and then did agree to write the foreword. I honestly believe I wouldn't have been elected to the Transformational Leadership Council alongside Jack Canfield and John Gray and Marianne Williamson and Don Miguel Ruiz. I wouldn't have had a chance.
Yeah.
If I wasn't practicing radical mouse naming.
Yeah.
So I thank you for the chance to talk about it, because it's not for the faint of heart. It's going to take courage. You're going to have to be willing to risk. You're going to be need to risk discomfort, but that's where all the good stuff lies. If you just stay comfortable, if that's what you're committed to, just staying comfortable, don't get this book.
Yeah.
Don't go to Mouse in the Room and get this book. It's not for you. But if you want a roadmap to truth, you want to be the badass leader that people want to follow, you want radical transformation, this is a roadmap to that.
Yeah. And so brilliant. And I feel like it's so needed right now, specifically in this day and age, because I feel like, and I don't want to say that people put on facades, but it's just almost like this armor that we're all walking around with, right? We have this armor on ourselves. Like, I don't really want to say the thing that, like, how freaking amazing. Like, who would say that to the author of the Chicken Soup series? Say like, hey, you're my backup. I really want Richard. I want him, but I don't.
I know.
Like, but if he doesn't say yes, then I would love to have you. Like, we don't speak that radical truth.
Look, if you read and practice this book, it's like you can be in a movie.
Yeah.
And what I say by that is we watch movies where people are practicing radical mouse naming.
Yeah.
We watch it where people reveal and then they get the keys to the kingdom. That is possible for us. I after 20 years of guilt, because when I was a kid, I did something that was illegal.
Yeah.
And that could have hurt somebody. And I carried that guilt for 20, 30 years. I went to therapy. I talked to coaches. I got 15 different responses. Hey, look, you were just a kid. Let it go. No big deal. I finally was willing, I decided I was willing to track down the person and confess and apologize and see how I could make it right. And I was clear that I was risking prison to do that.
Yeah.
I was risking prison and having the change in status in society of being a criminal and losing so much in my mind.
Yeah.
And I decided that I was willing to risk that to apologize because that's what felt right to me. Now, I'm not saying everybody should do that. And it took me 20 years to get there. But when I did it, I tracked down this person and they said, well, you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. And my life is great. And I was like, oh my God, I can't tell you what that was worth. So if you practice, buy the book and practice this and have this be your new religion, then yeah, you're going to lose some stuff. You're going to lose some friends. You're going to lose some opportunities, but I suggest those are the opportunities you're supposed to lose.
Yeah.
And then you're creating space for what's truly meant to come to you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, it's interesting. It's like it's almost like you said, the roadmap to that radical transformation, but also like almost like weights, like dead weight being like released and to let go, but also being, you know, inviting people that are prepared for this journey, right? Because it's not going to be for everybody. There aren't going to be people that they're ready for this or even want to do this at this point, right? So
right. And I've deliberately co-written with my co-author Shayna List. I've deliberately written this to be accessible to mainstream. So you don't have to have done a whole bunch of personal growth or whatever. It's absolutely accessible. If you are interested in personal growth and transformation, this would be a really good way to do it. And if you decide to go for the ninja stuff and the advanced stuff, get a coach.
Yeah.
Get a coach to guide you through it. Because sometimes it's like, I couldn't say that. I couldn't do that. I'm too scared to do that. Could I really do that with my team? How do I name this with my boss? That's often what comes up with my clients. I'm like, well, let's role play it. Let's do it. Okay. You got it now? Yes, totally got it now. And off they go. I got one client just got offered a $250,000 signing bonus to move to another company. And he's like, how do I bring this up with my current boss? And what do I do? And we worked out, well, you could use this to leverage a better position in the company. So what do you want to ask for?
Yeah.
What's your dream? Don't order short. You know, what are your desire mice?
Yeah.
Right? What's the ideal? And then we looked at how do you bring this up? And he even texted me the text that he wanted to send to his boss and said, how does this sound? And together we worked out something that was really nice. It was something like, hey, can we have a chat? I want to talk about how I can best contribute to the company going forward.
Yeah.
And you know, how that could look. And I'm like, ninja, that he came up with that.
Yeah.
That was really nice. But yeah, you know, get some support for the tricky stuff, but the book will give you the 3D process. You can be mouse naming. I wrote to someone, said, can you give us an endorsement? And he wrote back, you're going to want to name mice before you even put the book down.
Yeah.
And that is my wish for the world.
Brilliant. Amazing. So when does this book hit the book stands?
June 13, 2022 is when
Brilliant.
It comes out. I'm hoping you can delay release of this podcast until then. That'll be my wish.
Absolutely. Yes.
So if that happens, then today,
yes,
baby,
today
it's ready.
Yeah.
Go to mouseintheroom.com. And here's what I'd love you to do. If you resonate with this and you're like, hey, this could be good for my life, could be good for my family, could be good for my company, could be good for the world. Don't just get the book.
Yeah.
Get the book And we plan to have, you can either get the physical one, or we're going to have a special on the Kindle for 99 cents, right? How ridiculous is that? Because we want to do a bestseller campaign. But here's how you can help us make this a bestseller and get the word out. Buy the book. If you think it deserves a 5-star review, then please go and leave that review, and then post on social media that you just got the book, so that your friends can have an opportunity to mouse name as well. It's way harder to do this in isolation.
Yeah.
It's way easier to start mouse naming if your family and your friends and your staff and everyone else know what's going on. So post it on social media. There's 2 reasons I want that.
Yeah.
I want it to be a bestseller, just so we can say that.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I want to start a mouse naming revolution.
I love it.
So
I love it.
Let's make some noise. Mouseintheroom.com. There'll be a link to, you go straight to Amazon too, but mouseintheroom.com will, it'll be more fun. I'm planning to add a couple of bonuses to the book, so that you don't just get an amazing book, but you get something else that's really awesome too.
So brilliant. So brilliant. It's always a pleasure connecting with you. I know we had so much fun on the last episode. Absolutely love the concept of this book. I think, like you said, it's not just for entrepreneurs or business owners or whatever. It's going to radically change people's lives, relationships, you name it, the way that they just show up in the world. So I know on the last call, you were just starting to dabble in acting. You were getting back into acting. I want to just touch on that a little bit, because I know it was something that you were just getting back. It was something you always wanted to do. And so now it's something that you're pursuing even more. And so that's part of you living your truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do that. And then I have to go.
Yeah.
But I love that we talked about it. And do you know how far I'd gotten into it at that stage?
You were just taking you were just starting to take classes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this was a mirror mouse. This was like, for 10 years, I said to myself one day, I'd like to really see what happens, because I'd done maybe 4 short films over 25 years. And I'd try and get an agent, then I'd give up and whatever. And I thought, what if I just dived in and got trained as an actor and really got an agent and went to like 1,000 auditions and just lived that life. I don't even know if I'd need to get anything big. I just want to live that life and see what happens. And then that was a mirror mouse. And then finally I started speaking it, and someone said, oh, I did that. And then a week later, she called me and said, I'm going to audition for Dracula. Do you want to come with me? And I said, oh, gulp. Part of me said, I haven't even taken a class yet. That's kind of crazy. But another part of me said, that's the universe knocking. So I went. And then here, if you see the video here are a couple of pictures.
Oh, wow.
From Dracula.
Wow.
I got cast as the lead in a paid professional production of Dracula, which blew my mind. Now, there's more to the story. I went and got coaching on how to do the audition. And so since you and I have spoken, I've done a play, I've done 6 short films. I got 2 commercials, and I got paid for a bunch of those. So I've actually received $2,000 as an actor, which I think is just mind-blowing for a beginning actor. I'm really proud of that. And in 10 days, I drive myself and my dog to Los Angeles. And I've already found my school that I'll be training with, and I'm going to be an actor. I'll still coach. I'm still launching the book and doing interviews and mouse naming, and I'll be doing corporate trainings too, and coaching executives on leadership around mouse naming and corporate trainings. So that'll still happen, but I'll also be going to a lot of auditions and training, and just really enjoying the whole art of acting.
Love it. And I wanted you to share that story because I love, I want our listeners to see that you're like living and breathing this mouse naming and just really actually really speaking and living your truth and following the the desires that you want or that are on your heart. And so it's just so amazing. So it's, yes, always a pleasure connecting with you, and so excited. Yeah, I think you had just got the Dracula part, or had just learned that you had got that part. And I remember you being really excited about it. Like, right. I can't even believe this. I don't even really have any like real training, but it's so awesome. So yes, it's been a pleasure. And again, the book is out and you can get it, and just go to themouseintheroom.com, and we'll also be linking that in.
There's no the in front of it. Go to go to mouseintheroom.com. And also I want to say too, if you've been thinking of getting a coach, I love coaching business owners who are already doing well. Yeah. And they want to double what they're doing, and they want their life to be better. I don't if you just want more money, go and work with somebody else. But if you want your life to be better and your business, go to focus.ceo.
Brilliant.
That's my other website, focus.ceo, and apply for a session, and we'll get on the phone and see if we're a fit.
Yeah, brilliant. Love that as well. That life and business balance, having a life that you love as well as a business that you love. So we will link those links up in the show notes so that you can easily connect with David. And again, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
You've been listening to Tough Conversations with David Wood. Now it's action time. Mastering your tough conversations will have a major impact on your team, your company, and you as a high-performing executive or entrepreneur. If you're ready, request a discovery session with me at playforreal.life so we can transform your team, your company, and you. And if you've enjoyed this episode, I would love you to help me spread this message of tough conversations in a very simple way. Just leave a public review at playforreal.life/podcast. And you may hear me read it out loud and thank you live on a future podcast. Now, let's play.